You know that feeling every morning? That incredible, rich aroma that kind of signals the day has officially begun? We sip it, we let it wake us up, but we hardly ever stop to think about the wild, thousand-year saga that's packed into every single cup. Well, today we're diving right into that story.
Because let's be real, this isn't just a beverage. It's a global phenomenon. I mean, it's a force that has been a catalyst for huge social change and has been shaping our world for over a millennium.
So how did that happen? How did we get from a bean on some remote hillside to the cup you might be holding right now? That's the journey we're going on today. Our story doesn't start in some trendy, bustling cafe. Nope, we have to go way back. We're talking the rugged, sun-drenched highlands of ancient Ethiopia, all the way back in the 9th century. So, the legend goes, there was this goat herd named Kaldi, and one day he sees his goats acting, well, weird. They were super energetic, practically dancing around, after munching on these bright red berries from a shrub. So, of course, he gets curious, tries them himself, and bam, an incredible rush of alertness. He rushes to a local monastery with his discovery, but the abbot is skeptical and just tosses the berries into a fire. But then, this amazing aroma starts to fill the room as they roast. The monks quickly rake the beans from the fire, grind them up, and mix them with hot water, creating the very first cup of coffee. And its purpose? To help them stay awake and focused through those long nights of prayer. And just like that, the secret was out. Now, from this legendary discovery, the beans' true power was about to be unlocked. It crossed the Red Sea and made its way to the Arabian Peninsula. And this is where things get really interesting. Here, in 15th century Yemen, coffee was cultivated on a large scale for the first time. Sufi mystics found the brew was perfect for helping them focus during their all-night devotions, and the port city of Makkah, yeah, that Makkah, became the absolute epicenter of a massive coffee trade. And when you have something this valuable, you protect it. And boy, did they. The Arab world created a zealous, ironclad monopoly. All the growing was kept inside Yemen, and they made absolutely sure that every single bean that left the port was either roasted or boiled first. Why? To make sure it was infertile. They were dead set on making sure no one else could grow their precious wine of Arabia. And this is where the culture around coffee just explodes. The Kiva Han, the world's very first coffee house, opened its doors in Constantinople in 1555. And these places, they weren't just cafes. They were nicknamed schools of the wise. I mean, can you imagine? They were these buzzing hubs where everyone, scholars, poets, merchants, would gather to debate ideas, play chess, and share the latest news, all powered by this amazing new drink. Of course, a secret this big couldn't stay contained forever. But when Venetian traders finally brought coffee to Europe in the 17th century, well, it was met with a ton of suspicion. Some people even called it Satan's bitter invention. The clergy were so worried they actually begged Pope Clement VIII to ban this Muslim drink. But, as the story goes, the Pope wanted to taste it for himself first. He found it so amazing that he supposedly declared they should cheat the devil by baptizing it. And with that papal thumbs up, coffee's takeover of Europe was officially on. And in London, coffee found its true calling. For the grand price of just 1 penny, you got so much more than a cup of coffee. You got access. Access to the latest news, to political pamphlets, to some of the most brilliant conversations happening in the city. That's why they were nicknamed penny universities. They were the epicenters of commerce and intellectual life. In fact, Lloyd's of London, the famous insurance market, started out in a coffee house. By giving people a sober alternative to morning ale, coffee literally fueled the sharpest minds of the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution. So with demand absolutely skyrocketing all across Europe, the race was on. Everybody wanted to figure out how to break that heavily guarded Arabian monopoly and grow the plant for themselves. The Dutch were the first to crack the code. In the late 1600s, they pulled off a daring bit of industrial espionage. They managed to smuggle fertile plants right out of Yemen and started growing them in their colony on the island of Java. This was the first major crack in the monopoly's armor. But maybe one of the most incredible, most cinematic stories of coffee's spread comes down to the determination of just one man, a French naval officer named Gabriel Declus. So get this, in 1723, he's given this insane mission. He has to transport one single, incredibly fragile coffee seedling from the royal gardens in Paris all the way across the Atlantic. He had to deal with everything, violent storms, pirate attacks, you name it, all to protect this one tiny plant. The journey was so brutal, so desperate, that he was actually forced to share his own precious drinking water just to keep that seedling alive. Think about that. He was giving his own water ration to a plant. That's how unbelievably valuable this thing was. And here's the truly mind-blowing part. He made it. Dicleo seedling survived, and it thrived. That one single plant that he nearly died for became the ancestor of millions upon millions of coffee trees all across the Caribbean and Latin America. It's basically the great-great-great-grandparent of the industry that made Brazil a coffee superpower. Okay, let's jump forward in time. The 20th century rolls around, and coffee's story takes another huge turn. It goes from being this specialty good to a mass-produced commodity, and it completely changed how we all drink it. After World War II, we entered what coffee lovers call the second wave. The main focus here was convenience and consistency. Think about the big cans of Folders or Maxwell House, the invention of instant coffee. It was just a commodity. But then, starting in the late 20th century, a whole new movement started to bubble up, the third wave. And this is the era that most of us are living in right now. The third wave is all about treating coffee like you treat a fine wine. It's an artisanal product. We started talking about single-origin beans, specific flavor profiles, and super meticulous brewing methods. Your local barista isn't just serving coffee, they're a craftsperson showing off their art. So when you really stop and think about it, the journey is just staggering. It went from a legend about dancing goats in Ethiopia to a closely guarded secret of an entire empire, to the fuel for Europe's greatest thinkers, then a global commodity, and now it's this beautiful artisanal craft we all get to enjoy. And that whole epic, world-changing history, that grand, globe-spanning narrative, it all leads directly back to that simple cup you enjoy every single day. So the next time you take that first sip, just remember, it's so much more than just a drink. You're holding 1,000 years of revolution, of exploration, and innovation right there in your hands. So the real question is, what story is it going to help you write today?